Hello and welcome to the Addicts Anonymous podcast. I'm your host, Jim. Today's episode 230, and we're going to be interviewing Andy. How you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be
Good.
having a discussion with you about your life story and stuff. So let's get started. First question that I ask everybody is, tell me how your childhood was. Tell me about growing up.
Um, yeah, my childhood, I was adopted. Me and my sister were both adopted, and I was adopted at 3 months old to the day after I was born. So I don't know a lot about my biological parents, but I know they weren't addicts because I've asked my mum that. And my sister, she's not my biological sister, but she was adopted really early. And yeah, I look at my mum and dad now as my mum and dad, so I haven't got a problem with that. And yeah, my childhood was quite good, really. I can't really moan about how I was brought up. My mum and dad are both hard working. Um, yeah, they've never taken drugs. They're not alcoholics or anything, so really I can't complain about my upbringing. But
So you said
yeah,
real quick, you said your biological parents had addiction issues.
no, they didn't. As
Oh, they
far I
didn't.
asked my,
Okay.
no, they didn't. I asked my mum that before I went into treatment recently, just out of interest, because I don't really ask a lot about them, to be honest, because I find it not well, a bit disrespectful. Because my mum and dad now have brought me up, they've stuck by me, and everything I've done to them over the years, and they're still there now, and they'll do anything for me, and like I've had a good upbringing, and they've been there for me. So I can't blame it on anything like that. I'm so grateful for all the support they've given me, and they continue to give me. So yeah, they've been brilliant. Like, but yeah, my sort of my first memories of probably I've been thinking about it. It's probably when I was about 9. I used to love going gambling down the arcades, and used to be able to get cigarettes with the tokens you win off the fruit machines. Like I remember once getting like 60 cigarettes from the tokens, and then taking them over onto the heath where we used to live and smoking all 60 of them with another lad, and just smoking them in a few hours and then going home. Which, looking at it now, was probably a bit strange, but yeah, after that, it's probably about 12. I started smoking cannabis.
Who
Um,
who introduced you to cannabis?
um, just just hanging about with older lads, really, out of school, and yeah, always sort of like hung about with the older lads that are a couple of years older, sort of like the bad lads. Always felt, I don't know whether it made me feel accepted or whatever, but I used to think I was cool because I used to hang about with older lads, and they'd give it to me and my friends. And I can remember smoking my first joint and thinking, yeah, I like this, I like the feeling, and that just led on over the years. I mean, it went through lighter gas stages of smoke, taking loads of lighter gas, sat in a mate's shed, just doing bottles and bottles of lighter gas.
What's lighted
Um,
gas? What are you saying? Lighted gas?
yeah, like refill for lighters, the gas that fills
Oh,
the
like the
lighters up.
butane? Like butane?
Butane, yeah,
Were you huffing
doing
that?
loads. Sorry.
What were you huffing it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just inhaling it, and obviously you get all the head going, wow, all the funny feeling, and blacking out off it, um, and enjoying it, and basically that progressed on to then going to upper school where you're like 14, and then starting to sell drugs to fund my own drug habit, which was mainly in my whole life I sold cannabis, but yeah, that led on to speed, uh, doing a lot of pills,
What age
and
did you get introduced to speed?
about 15, just doing speed, pills, and acid. But I didn't really enjoy tripping much. It's never been my thing, but we used to take them at school, and in the last 2 hours of school, we take acid. So you're coming up in the last lesson, and then you'd leave school and go and do whatever for the afternoon and evening. But that was never really my thing. But I used to love taking pills and never going out on them. I'd go and take them and just go to a park or something. And my friends would, they'd do, I don't know, 2 or 3. I'd take 5 or 6. And back then, when we were taking them, they were quite strong, and I think they were full of like opiates. They were all speckly dubs and that. I can remember just lying there, my eyes rolling in my head, and thinking, yeah, I like this. And
what did you like about drugs? What did you like about marijuana when you first smoked it?
I just like the way it changed how I felt, to be honest. And yeah, I liked it. I liked selling it as well. I used to think I was cool at school. Everyone knew who I was. Everyone knew I sold drugs. Everyone knew I took drugs. They all thought I was mad. I was hanging about with the older lads, so I had protection from them because they were obviously selling us the drugs. So you never had any trouble at school, and if you did, you had people that would sort it out for you. And yeah, I like the way it changed my feelings. But I've never, like the party drugs, I never took it to party. I just took it to get off my head, basically. I never used to go to raves, and I never really went out clubbing. I just did it to get off my head, which, looking back on it now, was wrong. So a lot of people go out raving and have fun. I never done all that. I just used to go to a park, sit with a radio on, listening to music, and yeah, just love being off my head. And I went through that. I went through magic mushrooms, things like that, which, yet again, I don't really like, but I do it over and over again. I've had a lot of bad times on them. Like,
Why would you continually do it?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
It's amazing us addicts. We don't the shit we do, right?
Yeah, that's right. Like, I remember the first time coming up on them, I went to take a draw on my fag, walking down the road, and my arm floated off down the road, and I felt out of control. That's what I didn't like about like mushrooms and things. But instead of taking a few, I'd take loads of them rather than just take enough to have fun. I'd take so many that it was just horrible. And then a few weeks later, I'd do it again. And yeah, I stopped that after a bit because I like the feeling of being in control. I felt when I was doing mushrooms and acids and that, I was getting out of control. I didn't like looking at my body, thinking 1 minute you're tiny, then you're big, and your arms look weird. So yeah, like that just went on till I was 16, 17, doing pills. I mean, I'd done so many pills, just sat about in parks doing nothing. It's mad. But when I got to 17, one night I did go to a party one night actually. So that was one night I went to a party. We went out with my friends, my 4 best mates, and these are lads. 3 of them I've been at school with, and we're going back a bit now. But when I was at school, I used to look at it as a social. I was like predicted good grades to start with, but I used to look at it as a social thing. And by the last 2 years, I just did not care about school at all. I used to just care about going back. So I used to live around the corner to my house at lunchtime with about 8 lads smoking bongs and coming back to school, or taking drugs, coming back to school. My 2 best mates got expelled like 8 months from the end. And so I decided to get myself expelled just by saying I'm not going to school, and so they expelled me for that. But I'm quite grateful for that, because what happened when I was 17 is I went out to this party with 3 mates. I was in the car, and we got to this party one night, and I got a bad headache and went home, and basically someone took my place in the car on the way back, and they hit a wall and died. All four of them died instantly in this car crash. And then after that, my life changed. Right, well, it's still changed now. Like, I haven't realised till I've got clean how much it has changed and how much I miss them. But that was like a big turning point to go on to heavy drugs. But before that, I had a serious problem anyway. And I found out at the funeral that they'd spoke to their parents, my mates that had died, and said that they were worried about me, about my drug taking and that, but they'd never said this to me. But I was quite shocked about that. But obviously, when you're lads and that age, you don't really speak about that. But I love these lads like family. Like when I was 16, my mum and dad moved away, and I stayed down where I was living to stay with my mates. So I chose my mates over my family because I love these boys. But yeah, once they died, I just did not give a shit about my life. You know what I mean? I didn't care, and that carried on for at least 15 years of my using. The last 10 years of it, I did give a shit more about my life. But yeah, when I was 17 and they died, I turned into a bit of an alcoholic really for a year. But it was not long after that I started taking heroin and crack and anything I could get my hands on. But like my main problem drug has been the heroin over the years. I started on that probably about when I was 17 and a half, just coming up to 18.
Who was the first person who did you first do heroin with?
Basically, I was hanging about with older lads again. And when I was 17, I was renting a house. And the lad I was hanging about with, he was only 2 years older, but he was hanging about with another lad that was selling a lot of heroin. He was selling like kilos of it. And this bloke was leaving half bars of it at my house, stashing it at my house. And they offered it to me. And I'd never thought, where I grew up, you couldn't get heroin really in the little place I lived. You could if you went into Bournemouth, but I never thought I'd touch it. But as soon as I was offered it, I took it straight away and smoked it. And it made me sick. Like, it made me sick. And I thought, I like this. And done it the
Yeah,
next
I've heard that before. I heard that when you do heroin, you throw up, and for some reason you enjoy it.
Yeah, and when you first start it for the first couple of weeks, it makes you throw up, yeah. But it's weird. You think something like that would put you off, but it doesn't. It's part of it, and you think, oh, this is good. And within, I'd say, 2 or 3 weeks of doing it every day, I was hooked, like, just through smoking it. And then it doesn't take long before you start injecting it. And, yeah, so I started injecting it. And all the shit that brings with it, injecting crack with it at the same time.
You would mix heroin and crack?
Yeah, injecting both of them at the same time. So yeah, it's just to get the feeling.
I was gonna say that sounds like a lethal cocktail.
Yeah, with the crack, it's like when you smoke it on the pipe, it's intense, but if you inject it, it's a lot more intense. But I ain't gonna come right because it ain't good. It's crap. Do you know what I mean? It's ruined my life basically for 25 years. But it's the
I'm
things
so
you
lucky.
do.
No, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's the things that it does to you. Like, I've been a functioning addict through my life, so I thought I was alright. Like, I learned bricklaying when I was 17. I can remember going to college, going outside, injecting and smoking crack in my tea break and things like that. But the first 10 years of my using, I rinsed my family because I couldn't earn enough money to support myself. And I'd work at a pub. I'd steal all the money out of the pub. I remember them coming up to me because I never looked like someone on drugs. So they'd say, someone's stealing from this pub. Can you keep your eye out? But it was me. Like, I was the one that was stealing all the money from it. And I've been on jobs and I've stolen money. I've I've stole so much from my parents, like, and they've helped me out. Like, I run up a debt of 50 grand with them through the first few years. My dad wrote that off. And yeah, just doing scummy things. They'd go on holiday, they'd come back, the telly's gone, everything's gone out of the house, and I've just got the pawn tickets to say, oh, you'd have to go and get it back out of the pawn shop. But you lose all your morals. You don't care. And I used to go into crack houses and share needles with people. If there's no new needles, I'd go in there and share with people that have. There's people in the house that got AIDS and Hep C, but I honestly didn't care about my life at that point. I didn't care if I lived or died. So I'd share needles with people. It's only by the grace of God. I don't know how I ended up not catching anything, but like these are the things that it just drives you to, like desperation. You just don't care. You've got no self-respect, no morals. At work, I could never wear a t-shirt for 10 years because I had track marks up and down my arms. So in the summer when it's baking hot, people must have thought I was mad because I had a long sleeve t-shirt, but I couldn't take it off because my arms were just covered in track marks. So, but like that carried on for about 10 years until I got to a point where I couldn't get a hit in the end. I remember one day sat on my bed at home, and I'd probably tried about 50 times to get a hit, and I just sat there. I looked at myself covered in blood, needles everywhere. We're changing the needles, and just thought, what am I doing? And like it's like I had a light bulb moment. I thought I ain't doing this anymore. But the only trouble with that is I just put it straight onto the foil. So I stopped injecting it then, and then started smoking it on the foil. And
So your veins weren't working anymore? Is that what happened?
yeah, they'd all gone. They're still collapsed. Like that, I still don't have many. Well, I ain't got no veins now. If I have to go for a blood test, it's on my doctor's notes, like to give 45 minutes or an hour to get a blood test because I just collapsed them all. Because some of the times you're trying to inject with blunt needles, you run out of needles. You can't get to the pharmacy to get a swap pack. So yeah, you're just trying to push in a needle that you've used 5 or 6 times already or whatever, and yeah, I just ruined all my needles. I tried to go everywhere in the end, and like I used to struggle finding the one in my groin, and I'm quite glad of that because I know a lot of people that you go in there and you can end up with a hole that you can just use like to. But I know people that lost legs and things like that through that. But so I suppose I was lucky. Not it's meant to be a massive vein, but I tried loads of times, and but I've tried everywhere else, literally on my body. Used to go, well, yeah, everywhere. So that just became, in the end, I had to stop because I couldn't get a hit. But so I started smoking it then, and that carried on for 15 years. And yeah, I'm sat in now with lungs. You know what I mean? I'm 40, just coming up 44. And I went to the doctors about 5 years ago, and they said I got lungs of a 67-year-old. And yeah, when I went into treatment, you have to blow on this thing. I blew 200, and you should be blowing 600. I did it on a peak flow meter. So basically, I've ruined my veins, I've ruined my lungs. But I'm glad to be clean today because I never thought I'd be clean. I really didn't. I never thought there'd be a way out. I thought my life would be taking drugs, or if not, being on a methadone script. I started on my methadone script when I was 18 on a supervised pickup, and that's carried on until about 13 weeks ago. And that's going to the pharmacy every day to collect your methadone because I never gave a clean urine sample because I'd always use on top of it. Basically, I used it just to get me up in the morning. Well, I'd use it in the morning anyway, but it's just a backup just to help you through the day at work, really. But and that's been the hardest thing to get off, really. I went into a treatment centre, which was about, well, it was November the 8th. It was meant to be for 15 weeks. I'd done a detox in there. And when I went in there, what I was using at the time, I was on 85 milligrams of methadone a day. Before I went, I was probably smoking at least a team for heroin a day. I was smoking cannabis every day, using diazepam to sleep at night. So I had quite a tolerance to stuff. And yeah, when I went in there, the first week and that was all right. I thought, oh, this is easy. And then they reduced me, and it got down to 65 mil, and then bang, I was ill. So I said to the treatment centre, like, they're gonna have to slow it down. I think they're trying to reduce me too quickly. So they phoned the doctor and that, and to be fair, they slowed it right down, which made it more manageable. But it's been hard, but it's going to be when you got to keep in your head. You want it to be hard anyway, really. You don't want to be too easy, because otherwise this is going to stop me from reusing. But I have to keep remembering these. Even now, I'm only, what is it, about 44 days, be 45 days in a couple of hours here. But yeah, clean off
congratulations.
cheers, off the methadone. I haven't used heroin or any drugs for 90 something days, but I'd start my clean day from when I finish my methadone. Some people don't, but in the treatment centre in England, that's what they say. When you finish your methadone, you're clean. But I mean,
Well,
whatever.
real
Yeah.
quick, going back a little bit, what made you want to get sober? What did you have a rock bottom? Was there something that happened, like an incident?
Basically, it was just a relentless cycle of. I was working 7 days a week by the end of it to earn, I don't know, 1,200 pounds a week. But I spent everything I earned, I was spending on drugs and more. So I was still getting in debt, and I was like, the money I was earning for bricklaying is good money, but no matter how much money I earn, it's never enough. So like, the more money you earn, the more you do, and it's just 25 years of relentless cycle of just working and working every day. I used to think I enjoyed it, but looking back on it now, there's nothing enjoyable about it. I think I just got stuck in I didn't even think I was an addict, to be honest. When I went into treatment, I had cannabis left at home for when I got home, and when I got in there, they're like, you can't drink, can't take cannabis. I was thinking, I'm here to get off heroin. That's it. And I didn't realise, if you want to be clean and feel something, you've got to give everything up. Like, I didn't have a clue about recovery. I hadn't heard about NA. Yeah, I'd never even been told about it. So, and none of my mates. Like, I was a lone user for the last 10 years, and so I'm not really around people that have given up. So yeah, it's all new to me. But since going into treatment and going through it, it was 8 weeks to get off the methadone, and it was a struggle, but I'm so glad I did it. Like, I played up a lot in there. I could have probably got kicked out. I walked out one time, which was stupid, but I think they understand when you're in treatment centre. Like, you're not who you are. You're going through it at the time, and I got COVID when I got down to 15 meth, and that was probably the hardest point, because I was rattling in there, and then I got COVID at the same time, so I was isolating in a room as well for 3 days before other people got COVID in the house, and then we all got put together. So those 3 days were hard, but yeah. When I walked out the treatment centre that day, I thought I still had, in my head, because obviously your head tells you stuff that's not true. Like, you believe your head, and I thought, oh, I've still got 2 weeks left to get off this methadone. I'll go home, get back on a script, I'll detox myself. But like, the next morning at 5 in the morning, I was ill. So if I'd have left that night, there's no way I'd have waited till after lunch to get a script. I'd have used. So shows how deluded I am. And 4 days later, I was clean. But I didn't realise it because it's a blind detox at the treatment centre I was at. So I'm so glad I didn't. Well, I tried to reverse the charges to my parents, but the phone wouldn't work because they've got some cool thing on it. So I'm so glad. It's almost like you hear now, the higher power, something intervened to stop that from happening. And if I'd have left, that would have been the biggest mistake of my life. 4 days later, I was clean. Christmas Eve, my first clean day. So that's an easy one to remember. And yeah, that was 8 weeks in. And yeah, a week after that, I decided to leave there and come home. I should still be in there now. I think another 2 weeks. I don't advise it to anyone, but for me personally, I wanted to get to NA meetings because in treatment we were going to NA meetings once a week, and I thought, I like this. This is what's gonna sort of like save me. And so I decided to leave, which is what I did. But I like I say, I wouldn't advise it. It's totally up to the individual. Because they said to me, "No, you won't stay clean." Well, I am still clean, but it's been hard because, like the last 11 weeks, I've had hardly any sleep. Like many nights, I'd say about 6 weeks of that with nothing, and then an hour or two a night. And the last few days, I'm starting to sleep again now. Like last night, I got 9 hours, which is it's massive now. I'm finally seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. But it's been hard. But since leaving and getting out into NA, that's what saved me. Basically, I've 44 days clean. I think I've done about 80 something meetings, plus all my Zoom meetings that I do, overnight meetings. So all I'm doing, I'm not going back to work yet. All it is just recovery. Just recover. Like they say, I'm putting as much effort into this as I did with buying drugs, and it's working. I think if I'd have gone back to work and gone to one meeting a week, I know I'd have used. So you have to prioritise it. And I've done loads of meetings. I've met some really good people. I've got some good mates now, and I've had some hard times over the last 6 weeks where I've needed these people, my sponsor, and yeah, without them, like I would have used. So you have to go in there. It's hard. I remember the first meeting, walking in there, I was scared. Well, a lot of the meetings to start with. I'm only just starting to feel a bit at ease now, but it's scary going in there with meeting all these people you don't know. But I think if you just go in there and keep coming back, like they say, people recognise that you want this, and they'll come up to you and they'll help. And like, I'm not going to say I haven't had thoughts of using, because I'd be lying. Like this last week, it's been probably my worst week since I've left, but it's 10 times better than anything before. So I can't sit here and moan. Like I'm so happy. But like I mean, this week, a couple of things that have happened. I went to work for a day with someone, a few hours with someone that I used to use with, which is probably stupid. And obviously he wasn't using at work or anything like that. And I was fine all day at work, and I got home, and I started driving to a meeting. I was looking at the time, and I thought, this is the time now he'll be sat at home using. And it come into my head, and then I started thinking, like, obviously it's not me, it's the addict. Like, I don't know this, but then people say this is the addict in your head, saying, is my life better? All these stupid thoughts for 5-10 minutes. And then once they went, I came down the beach, and I was so angry that night. I went to the meeting. I was sat there shaking, but I made myself share. I was the first one to share, and it helps so much if you just go there and just get it out and say how you're feeling. I know it's hard to do it, but if you can do that and be brutally honest with everything, like it does work. Like it has so far for me. I know it's early days to say it does work, but where I'm at so far, But I think honesty, like, you just got to be brutally honest. And then yesterday, I've had this cold for about 10 days. I've never been so ill. I keep getting cold since I'm run down where I haven't been sleeping and that. And obviously back when I was using, I didn't get ill that much. If I did, I'd just smoke a load of gear or do whatever and it would get rid of it. Whereas now, there's nothing you can do about it. You have to, obviously, take paracetamol and things like that. But yeah, it's not the same. But so yesterday was the first time I've been ill, and I was sat at home. And usually I'm out all day, busy with people from recovery. So I'm usually out from 9 in the morning till 10, 11 at night, which is good, around people from recovery. So I spend my whole day busy doing that. But also I was ill yesterday, so I sat at home for a few hours. And then my head started saying, "Oh, some diazepam would sort you out." And yeah, I had my phone in my hand. I've deleted the number today now, but I still have one of my dealer's numbers. I was sat there looking at it for about 5 or 10 minutes. But then I phoned a mate that he's 18 months clean. He's helped me out no end, and he's good he is. And I phoned my sponsor, and I went over sponsors for a coffee, and just speaking about it just gets rid of the thoughts, and just helps so much. And so yeah, just going to the meetings. I remember my first meetings in treatment. It took me 6 weeks to share at the meeting. I used to sit there getting all hot and anxious. Think, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, and then I couldn't do it. And same with Zoom meetings. It took me like a week to get the bottle to come on and share on Zoom. But once you start doing it, it gets a bit easier, but it helps so much. I think if you want to stay clean, you just really got to force yourself. I didn't want to share at that meeting in treatment, but I said to myself, I've got to do it. Like, if I want to get clean and stay clean, I have to push myself out of my comfort zone. And so I did share at that next meeting. I made a mess of it. I felt like a bit of an idiot, but no one cares. They all know you're new, and everyone's happy that you're trying. But in your head, they're all going to think I'm an idiot, because it's amazing, like, what your head can do to you, especially when you're on your own. If you got someone else to point stuff out to you, it helps so much. But when you sat there in your own thoughts, yeah, your head and the addicts in your head can play a lot of tricks. And like, this is all new to me. It's the first time I tried to give up, but I'm learning so much, and hopefully continue to learn, because like, my head's messed up. Do you know what I mean? It thinks in a strange way, the same as. But what I like about NA and Zoom, all addicts are the same. We all think in the same way. We all have these thinking patterns, and so you feel part of something here. And you know what I mean? It's easy when you first come in. You sit in there, you think, "Oh, he's a dickhead. Look at him," blah. But everyone's in there for the same reason. Everyone thinks alike. And yeah, the longer it goes on, the better it's getting. But yeah, like the feeling side of it, my feelings, I'll admit, I've been really angry. I've had a lot of anger since I've got clean. I don't know why, but I think it might be with the lack of sleep. I think I've definitely been angry. But today is a good day for me. I'm glad, because and I'm on this meeting, so I'm glad I'm in a good mood, because that helps. My head's, I had some sleep last night, so my head's clear. I can think a bit, and yeah, I can't wait just to get my sleep pattern back. And then obviously I know once the physical side's gone with the sleep and that, and I've got a lot of work to do on my head, because like everyone says, it's not just drugs. You start obsessing over other things now, like money, women, clothes, food. Like, I never thought I had problems with that. I used to buy ice cream every night. I used to get my methadone and go and buy ice cream and a thing every night, and I'd done that for years, and I'd eat the whole tub of it. And then when I went into treatment, they said you can have addictions over food and stuff. I thought, okay, yeah, I've got that. So obviously I realise now this is a lifelong process of like the way our brain thinks, and yeah, I need to set up some tools to get me through the rest of my life. But I realise I've got to keep going to NA, especially now, as much as I can. I know in the future you'll be able to cut meetings back a bit, but still, like at the meetings, you hear people that have been clean 10 years and they stop going to meetings, they pull away from it a bit and they relapse. So it's good to have a wide variety of people there to listen to get advice from. It's nice now as well. I've been clean 6 weeks. There's some more people coming in that are like a little bit behind me. They're just getting clean. So I can relate to them now because I've been through it a bit. Whereas before, I'm still the newcomer, but I've got people at the meetings, like the meeting tonight, there's a few people there that are like 10 days or whatever, and they're going through it. And I can, yeah, I can appreciate where they're at because
Absolutely.
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard, but you have to remember it's a lot better than it was when you're using and you're in the madness and the depths of despair and just you can't see a way out. So I have to still remember that, and I need to remember how hard it's been to get off this methadone because once I get back physically feeling fit, like people keep reminding me, you think you're all right. So I have to keep that fresh, and I'm going to try and keep remembering that because, yeah, how I've been through getting off this stuff, and I didn't use. So to go back now would be absolute madness. Like yesterday, thinking about getting diazepam, it's just absolute insane thinking. But that's because I was sat on my own. But I'd done the right thing by phoning someone. So all I'm doing is all the advice that NA gives me, I'm taking it, and it is working.
It sounds like you're doing good.
Yeah. I'm so grateful to NA and the meetings, the Zoom meetings, and listening to other people, other addicts. Because if I was sat at home isolating, like I did through my using, I'd be back there. 100% would be back there. So it's keeping me clean, and yeah, I'm so grateful. Like days like yesterday where I didn't use, and you wake up today and you have a good day, and you're so grateful for yesterday not using. It's yeah, it's nice, and like obviously you want everything now. You want to get a house now. You want to get a girlfriend now. Because like before, I wasn't bothered about anything like that. My life was drugs. That was especially the last 10 years. I didn't. I just wanted to be on my own and just take drugs. So yeah, I know that they say there's no rush, so I have to learn that now. I do take the advice. Some of it might take me a week or two to sink in, but like everyone says, as long as I don't pick up, that's the main
Yes,
thing.
it is.
Anything
So
else
it
you
sounds
can
like you're
work
doing
through.
good nowadays. It sounds like you
So
got your life together. Sounds like you said, it sounds like
sorry,
you're doing the right thing as far as
yeah,
when you're having, thoughts of using, reach out to a sponsor, whoever it is, your support network. That's good.
yeah. 'Cause otherwise, I'd sit there and yeah, like my head is telling me all these weird things. It's telling me like, oh, you should still be in treatment now. If you're in there, they give you diazepam. But looking back on it, they'd have said no. You're 40 odd days clean. They wouldn't have given me diazepam.
Yeah,
They'd have
no.
get here's a paracetamol. Get out of it. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'm sat there yesterday thinking, oh, I should still be there. They give me this, they give me that. But it's just all delusional thinking. But especially when you're on your own, you think. But if you run it by someone else or a couple of other people, they'll soon point out to you. So I think like that's the main thing. Just brutally honest, honesty. If you want to stay clean, you got to be honest. If you got
Yeah.
any secrets that eat you up, like I got offered some metazapine, like when I want sleeping some nights. So I think it's a like antidepressant drug, but it'll knock you out. I was so tempted to take it. Then I thought I can't. I can't lie to my sponsor. I can't have a lie to my mates. Like, otherwise, I think that would eat you up more than not sleeping if you're in there. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just being brutally honest and sharing where I'm at,
That's
and
great.
it works.
You're supposed to share your story. Sharing your story helps others. So real
Yeah,
quick, we're getting towards the end here. I just want to ask you
yeah,
one last question. Do you
yeah,
have any advice for people that are watching and listening? Any advice for people that are new to sobriety and they're trying to get their lives back together?
yeah. I'd say just keep going. Like, it gets better. I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel a few weeks ago, but I kept going and going, and it, like, people said to me, it does pass, and at the time I was thinking, yeah, you know what I mean? Don't say that, but it does, and you get through it, and things do get better. It's easy to say when you're sat in the middle of something and you're feeling bad, you don't want to hear it, but if you just keep going, and it does get better, and you can, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, like, and yeah, I like a lot of addicts say, I never thought I'd be clean. Like, I used every day, and I was on methadone for like 25 years. I used every day, and I never thought I'd be clean. And I'm sat here clean now, so like, you can do it, and you just got to keep going day by day. Just like they say, take one day at a time. If you try and look too far forward, I never thought I'd sleep again a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden it's coming back. So if you just keep going one day at a time and just keep battling through, it's hard, but you'll get there. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and things do get better slowly. And you can have a good life now, free of drugs. Like, I never thought I'd give up drugs. I never thought I'd stop smoking cannabis. Like, I thought I'd always smoke cannabis, but I'm happy to be sat here with a clear head and feeling something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can grieve for my friends now. I've never grieved for my friends until I got clean. Now I'm feeling it, but I'm glad I can. I can feel them. Before, I was just under a blanket of drugs. So you get your feelings back, and it's been hard going to the graveyard, crying, thinking it feels like yesterday, but I'm so glad I can feel that now. Feel I get some closure on it and give them the respect they deserve. So
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean. Just to keep going, and
that's good
you
advice.
can
I
get,
mean, one day at a time,
yeah,
keep going, right?
yeah. That's it, and you get there. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'd just say, just go to NA, get a good network, get some good friends, get a sponsor, like they say, and it's worked for me. I'm so happy to be sat here today.
I'm happy
So
for you.
happy.
And I really
Yeah,
want
cheers.
to I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. It really means a lot to me.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on there. Yeah, cheers. It's good. I haven't done the share before or anything like that. So yeah,
You feel good?
yeah. No, it's been alright actually. I was pretty scared earlier, but once
No,
you
you
get
did great.
talking,
That was an awesome job. I appreciate you sharing all the experiences you've been through and the things that you've done to get sober and sharing how you stay sober.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. So do me a favor and sit tight. Time for the little sales
Yeah,
pitch at the end. So
yeah,
everyone watching and listening, if you like what you saw and heard, go below and give us a like. You can also subscribe to see when we upload new videos. You can check us out on all social media: YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Pretty much we're on all social media platforms. You can also check out our website, which is www.addicts-anonymous.com. There you'll find plenty of free resources as well as free literature. Also, Addicts Anonymous has a book coming out, hopefully by the end of this month, if not by mid next month. It's called Addicts Anonymous, Our Stories. It's just a collection of essays on different topics I've wrote about, as well as a collection of people's stories. So that's all we have for today. I really hope you enjoyed the podcast. And until next time.